Virtual Arts Festival, April 30th through May 2nd, featuring national and local artists of color with spoken word, music, and more. Find information at stages.
Interesting.
It's Thursday morning. It's time for Rock and Roll Book Club with Jay Gabler. Jay reads a book a week for the Currents Morning Show for Rock and Roll Book Club. Maybe you read more than a book a week. I don't know that you have one specifically for you. Morning, Jay.
I was really excited for this book. She was so fascinating.
Yeah, and you mentioned that this book is part of a series, like Why Music Matters, something like that, right? Are we getting that right? But Music Matters, right? So this one is called Why Solange Matters from Stephanie Phillips, is the author.
Yeah, that's right. So this is all about Solange, the younger sister of Beyonce, and an incredible artist in her own right. It's a series that's also included why Harmonics Matter, why Beach Boys Matter.
Did you guys get plastic lidded containers yet to mix liquid? No? Okay. So if you're here first, we'll grab them now. These are the containers I have for you, so you just grab one. We're going to be making flip today with fortune cookies. So just grab a plastic container for now, and I'll let you know what to do.
We need a book like this.
Yeah, that's right. She started telling people that she was going to why Solange matters. Here, especially from white people, responses like, why Solange matters? Don't you know why Beyonce matters? I'm just saying, no. It's just like, people's it's like, you know, two great artists related, but different legacies, different books, please.
Right, like both deals, yes, we understand. But I imagine even more, it was difficult when one is the younger sister of such an international superstar. So yeah, we know Solange is Beyonce's younger sister, but it sounds like pretty early on, Solange decided that she was going to follow her own path in music.
Yeah, that's right. I think one of the fascinating things I learned in this book is that Tina Knowles, their mother, made a decision that was just amazingly helpful for this parent. Just make sure that this is going to develop into a
Come on, everybody. Before we begin, you're all going to need one of these plastic containers over here. So if you didn't grab one yet, please get one now.
She was president of the UNAC fan club, and so she very early took, followed her views and went where her musical interests led. So she released her first album at age 15. As making music, she went to soul, Happy Street, games that people are like, oh, so you're playing Amy Winehouse, and she's like, no,
All right. Wow. So okay.
so she really kind of like.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Please put down any chairs that are still up on the table near you. Good morning, people who are at home. Let me take attendance here real quick. We got Meredith, we got Reese, Raina, Leah, Rita, AJ. No. As of yet, we've got JJ, we've got Divine, James, Kip, Haley, Thomas, Josh Simon, not here yet. Hey, good morning, Hassan. Sarah, Mariah, can you put down Sarah's chair? Thank you so much. Chase, Katie, Ava, and no Jeff. Oh, Cookie. little slow to get started today, but we'll get there. You're gonna need your notebook today, so ceramic notebook. Hopefully by this time you've brought a ceramic notebook. People at home, grab your notebook too, please. Just a few terms today, not too many. And then we'll get to, well, I'll get to what we're gonna get to in a sec. So here's the plan for the next handful of days. Today, we're gonna make some slip, which means we're gonna crack some fortune cookies in just a little bit. We're gonna get some new vocab words. I'm gonna demonstrate some carving techniques for your tile project, and then you're gonna get work to work on. Also today, I've just been informed we have a lock-in drill, which means that it is, in the case of a hazard in the community, we would make sure the exterior doors are locked. I think I'm also supposed to lock my interior door there, but we just continue working. It's not in a corner or anything. So we'll just keep doing what we're doing, but there will be an announcement about a lock-in drill. We'll listen to that announcement and then we'll just keep going with whatever we're doing. Tomorrow's MCA test for 10th and 11th graders, and I went back and forth about what I should do for my 9th and 12th graders, because you guys will be at home tomorrow, theoretically doing a school day. And I found it really hard, because it's like half the class is 10th and 11th graders. I found it really hard to come up with an assignment that I just wanted 9th and 12th graders to do. If I have an assignment, I want everybody to do it. And 10th and 11th graders have their own business tomorrow. They're exempt from doing schoolwork tomorrow. So I decided to not have an assignment for tomorrow. And I think you're probably gonna be okay with that. To cover my own butt, I am gonna have an attendance question because I'm expected to do that. And so there will be an attendance question for 9th and 12th graders only. So 9th and 12th graders log on, do the attendance question, and then use it as a day. And maybe this is more applicable to people who are at home, who have their assignments at home, but use it as a day to catch up. Make sure you've turned in all your photos. Make sure you've, I don't know what else you would do for people who are in person at home. So just make sure you're caught up, basically, during first hour. Answer the attendance question, and you're done for ceramics tomorrow. And again, 10th and 11th graders, you do not have to answer the attendance question tomorrow because you're going to be here taking the MCA. All right, Monday is when we're going to hope to be done with this tile project. In fact, we'll see how far we get in class today, but possibly we might also start our new project on Monday. We'll kind of see how far we get today on the topics. All right, so the first thing I'm going to ask you to do today, you should all have a plastic container with a lid in front of you. If you don't have one, you grab one in a second. They're in this cabinet right here. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to take like 5 minutes to do this. You are going to grab 3 fortune cookies. Hang on, don't do it yet. 3 fortune cookies from the tray in front of you. They are not the fortune cookies you made, because I've switched them all around. And you're gonna break them open. You're gonna read the fortunes that are written on there, and you're gonna feel so lucky with those fortunes and how blessed you're gonna be today with those fortunes. I really hope that everybody wrote something appropriate on their fortunes. I have no control over that. I'm sorry if somebody wrote something inappropriate. Fingers crossed that we were all super appropriate. People at home, you're gonna be cracking open your fortune cookies that you made, which probably don't have fortunes in them, but you're gonna be using those to make slip. So once you've cracked open your fortune cookies, you're gonna put them in your plastic container, all the little broken bits. The fortune, the paper, don't put that in there. And then once all your broken fortune cookies are in there, your 3 fortune cookies, go to the sink, any one of the sinks, and fill it with warm water so that the tips of the fortune cookies are just kind of popping out of the water like little icebergs. We don't want to fill it all the way full. You just want to fill it like maybe halfway full so that the tiles are halfway covered. Then keep it out at your table today as you're working. You're not going to need slip today, but right before your very eyes, you're going to see the clay start to break down and slake. Slaking is when the water rips apart the little clay platelets, and you're going to see those little platelets falling like snow in your slip container as they're breaking down and making slip. So let's take 5 minutes, get 3 fortune cookies, break them open, put them in your container, fill the container about halfway with warm water. People at home, If you want to do your break open your fortune cookies and make your slip right now too, that's awesome. If you want to wait and do it later during your work time, that's fine too. Are they hard to break? Hey, thank you so much. Like your peanut. Yeah. It's really good work. Are all the fortunes broken in half? Oh, it's really embedded in there. It's something like a hammer to access that fortune. All right. So maybe I can do that project better. Maybe we'll have to use stronger paper. Was anybody able to read a fortune?
Yeah.
Were there some good ones? Standard fortunes. Very, very strong. You can grab a thinner one instead. I have plenty of these fortune cookies. There's still more trays of them. Although I do need some for my third hour. But if you need to grab one, a thinner one, your thicker ones are breaking. Little orange slips of paper. When you're done with them, when you're done reading them and feeling the good luck or fortune, you can throw those away. Unless you want to keep them as a precious memento. Yeah. Warm water, please, will work better. Fill your container half full so your tiles are mostly submerged. And then just leave it sitting out so you can kind of watch that process.
Can you put the lid on it?
No, leave it open. I mean, you can have the lid on, but kind of like, you can watch. You can go back and forth. The process of clay slaking is kind of a satisfying process. So I want you to keep it out so you can kind of watch the clay places break down and fall. Hey, I got it. Bro, I got my home. I'll write this down. I got it. There we go. Oh, thanks, Kim. What was the best fortune that you got? Anybody get a good one? You can't read it. Oh, well, that's nice. It's not naughty anyway. I was very nervous about there would be naughty things for you. What's that? Go ahead. The one you can't open, we can probably just utilize the tools that are at the end. There we go. All right, so as of right now, we have dry clay flaking down, become slip. We'll do one final thing to that container at the end of the hour. Try to leave it unbothered, because if you mess with it, it'll kind of mess with the slaking process.
Okay, as your attention, please. We are conducting a lock-out drill. Lock out, get inside, lock outside doors. Lock out, get inside, lock outside doors. An announcement will be made and an email will be sent when the lockout drill has been completed.
Check the lights up before the lockout. Would have had to lock you out. All right. So, yesterday we had some terms that related to our tile unit. We're going to move to that phase now. So, what was the name for a personal array of images that are meaningful or symbolic to you? Yes, say it again. That I word. Can anybody say the I word? Iconography, right? Yes, and the symbols are icons, right? And so you came up with a personal iconography yesterday. 5 images, maybe 5 different images, maybe 5 versions of the same image, but that should be an icon, symbol for you or your life or your family's life in some way. And you're going to be able to, share that if you want to share what that icon means, or you can keep it private to yourself. That's really up to you. We talked about a wind chime. A wind chime is what kind of instrument? Percussion instrument, right? Because the little tiles hit against each other and make beautiful music in the wind. We talked about relief tile. Somebody tell me, what is a relief tile? You can consult your notes from yesterday if need be. Jada, do you have your notes in front of you? Can you tell us what a relief tile is? A relief tile?
Oh, that's fine.
Yes.
A shallow type sculpture that is turned into processes to give it back.
Exactly. So a relief tile is really what we're going to be turning your tiles into today, because most of us yesterday just sort of drew some designs on our tiles. Today we're going to do some carving to make them more three-dimensional. I'm going to talk about ways to do that in my demo. And then refine, you also mentioned refining, and we're going to be working on that today too. Really making sure the work is at the highest level that you can possibly do. Not everybody is going to be at the same level, but the highest possible level that you can do. And I'll talk about ways to refine the work in the demo as well. So you have 3 new terms, additional terms, and you can add them to yesterday's notes, or you can put them on a new sheet of paper, wherever you have room. These are the terms that you have either heard me say already, or that you will hear me say in the demo. So people at home, you should be getting these in your notes as well. First new term is slake. Your tiles right now are slaking. It totally sounds like a Pokemon. So slaking means using water to break down clay into platelets to make slip. Well, there are other ways to make slip, but this is actually one of the most effective ways to make slip. We dry out clay entirely, so there's no more water molecules between the clay platelets. And then we put the dry clay in water, and the clay plate, or the water molecules want to sneak in between the clay platelets, and they end up shattering the clay platelets, totally ripping them apart. And so if you peek in your slip container now, every maybe 20 minutes or so, you should see microscopic little clay platelets falling like snow, falling down to the bottom of your container. And don't mess with it, don't stir it up, don't shake it yet. We want to give it lots of uninterrupted time to slake. And then at the end of the hour, we'll give it a good shake. We'll mix up all those clay platelets and we'll have some really nice slip.
Thank you for your cooperation. Drills now complete.
Phew. Term number 2 and term number 3 are ways of sculpting. And you're going to be doing that sculpting on a small scale today. This is not a major big sculpture that we're doing. But there are 2 different ways to approach it, and I want you to know about those 2 different ways so you can make some choices about how you decorate your tiles and create that relief tile effect. So the first type of sculpting is additive sculpting, where you're adding more clay to create layers. I'll demonstrate that in my demo today. So you may need to grab extra clay today, but a very small amount, probably not very much, if you're going to do additive. Next term is subtractive sculpting. This is probably what I'm guessing most of us will do today, but could be wrong. Subtractive sculpting is a process of removing clay to create layers. So the names really make sense. Additive means you're adding clay. Subtractive means you're removing clay. It's very logical. So you can combine these techniques to create dimensional designs on your tiles. You can add certain features that you want to pop out the most. You can carve away certain features that you want to de-emphasize or bring to a lower level so that things around them seem like they're popping out more. You can totally mix and match these techniques. But remember, you're going to be doing them on both sides of your tile. So we're not just having a front on these tiles. Both front and back should be the same. So I'll give you a minute or so to continue writing this in your notebook. Then I'm going to call everybody over here to my demo spot, and we're going to talk technique. And all right, it looks like everybody's done with the 3 terms. All right, so I'm going to advance to this slide, and I'm going to just kind of freeze it on that slide. And I'm going to have everybody gather around this spot right here, especially you folks over at that table. Come on over and stand around table 6, please. Come on over. People who are at home, I'm going to bring you over here too. And I just figured this out, but if I put my computer here, I'm going to move this way, then I don't block anybody's view. All right, come on over, folks. Come on. All right. So I have my dog tiles all cut out from yesterday. I feel like what I remember from yesterday is that most of us got all our tiles cut yesterday. If not, you can totally finish cutting your tiles today. That's fine. I unfortunately had one tile that ended up being thicker than the others. And so to try and make it look like the others, I'm just pinching those edges to become a little bit skinnier, which will make it look like the tile is skinnier. That's something you have to do anyway. You're gonna, once you've cut your tiles, you're gonna pinch the edges so it's not so slabby. We don't want those edges to look really rectangular and having hard edges. Can you guys put phones away for now, please? Thank you. So that's your first thing, is pinching all your edges. Now, my tiles were on a wooden tray last night. I think all of you had plastic trays. So my tiles dried out a lot because the wood absorbed moisture out of my tiles. So this tile, so it says on the screen, you want these to be dry, leather hard. This is actually kind of like too dry. I would not be able to join anything to this. So all my tiles that are too dry, this one's pretty good. That one's kind of dry. These I would probably wrap in a wet paper towel and just set aside until they rehydrate a little bit. These two feel like they're probably a little bit better, especially this one. So I have a shape that's my puppy shape, and my designs that are going to go within it are just going to be the lines and ears and eyes and things that define the puppy. So I'm going to take, there's a variety of tools you could use. You can actually use a dull pencil to carve your lines. So people at home, you probably have a dull pencil. That'll make kind of a thicker line. You can use a toothpick or a needle tool, but the problem with a toothpick or a needle tool, when you draw with it, it leaves those little spurs behind, or as I like to call them, boogers, right? And so we don't want those boogers there. So using something that's just a little bit wider, like a dull pencil, actually works better than a needle tool because it kind of clears those boogers away as you're making them. Another tool that people at home have is a ribbon tool, and folks who are here, you have ribbon tools as well. They're over there next to the needle tools. This is another good tool for carving and creating a gentle curve down into the clay. What we want with our lines that we're carving in there, like let's pretend that I cut this in half and I'm looking at those lines in cross section. What we don't want is your line to be like that. You see that, what I just drew there? People at home, I'm going to show you in a second. So we don't want your lines to look like that. We want your lines to look more like that top one, right? So there's a gentle curve down into your lines and back out again, okay? So that's what's gonna give you more refinement and less of that boogery kind of look. So the ribbon tool will allow you to do a little bit of that subtractive carving and make those lines a little bit more of a V shape. So they're not such a hard, sharp line. Like here, I drew these lines on with a needle tool, and you can't see this from far away, but there's all sorts of little spurs down inside there. So I would have to go back, recarve those lines, get those boogers out of there, and clean it up and make them more V-shaped. So what did I say here? Pinch and smooth, lightly draw the designs. Ooh, I missed this one. You need to put holes in your tiles, and you need to do that before they dry out too much, because we need to be able to hang these, even if you don't plan on firing it. So one way that you can make a hole is, if your clay is still fairly soft, you can take a pencil and just really slowly poke that pencil through, and you can start it on one side, and then when it just starts to pierce through on the other side, poke it through from that side too. So that way, too much pressure isn't being put on it from any one side. There is an exit wound, so the clay is kind of sticking up from that spot right there. So I'm just gonna take really any tool to shave that off, and then, you know, we're all about refining, so I'm gonna go back and fix it from this side, fix it from this side. It's a couple, couple of times back and forth to fix it. But you want that hole to be about almost the thickness of your pencil. And the reason for that is we want to make sure we're going to hang these in the kiln, and we need to be able to pass a piece of wire through that hole and not have the glaze fill that hole in. So you need that hole to be about the thickness of a pencil. This piece right here is too dry for me to stick a pencil through. I can tell already that if I were to push a pencil through here, it would shatter. So in that situation, I would use a drill bit. I have here in the classroom a tool that has a drill bit on it. People who are at home, you might have drill bits at home too that you could use for this. Otherwise, rehydrate your clay, and then you'll be able to use the pencil to be able to create your hole. So one that the head, I'm just going to widen that hole a little bit. So so cut your holes first, then you can start doing your carving and working on getting all the interior designs and carving them so they're that V shape. Now, I mentioned additive and subtractive and really shallow relief and really deep relief. So I'm going to demonstrate just kind of some do's and don'ts for what you could do for your designs. So I'm going to step away from the dogs here for a second. I'm going to do that, the Aquarius sign, because I'm an Aquarius. So one way that I could do the Aquarius sign, I need some clay. Kip, could you get me just like a gumball of clay and chuck it over here at me, please? Probably get it from the mixer rather than the recycling. Yeah, yeah. It's maybe a little bit soft, but it'll work. Nice, thank you. So one way that you could approach adding a design, instead of drawing it on, I mean, you could draw it on. Here's my Aquarius symbol. It's like two waves on top of each other. So if I simply do this, it's kind of boring as a design, right? It's not really like Ceramics B level. You could make the designs thicker. So this is the subtractive technique that I'm doing now. I could use my pencil, or people who are here in the classroom, I have other carving tools that you can use. And so you can carve, and look how after every time I carve a line, I clear away the boogers, because this clay is a little bit on the soft side here. So it's really, the clay isn't falling away when I carve it, it's sticking to the tool. So simply by carving the lines a little thicker, that does give them a little bit more interest. So you can see the top one does look better than the second one because it's carved to be thicker. If you're doing this type of relief, when you're just carving into it,
I would love to see more designs, you know, something that fills a space a little bit better. Maybe you end up having, I'm just doing a little pattern with this tool that maybe I would continue around the entire thing. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see that from far away, but I just added a little pattern there to make it more interesting. Okay, so you can do the subtractive technique, but just make sure that it's really thicker than just the needle tool will do. The needle tool is good for laying out the design, but then make it thicker, make it more effective, more visible, and then fill the space. Find a way to make the whole thing interesting front and back. If you are going to do, another way that you can approach that is doing puffy designs. So if I'm going to do that Aquarius symbol again, I can do the design as though it's like puffy letters. You know how you can write letters so that they're more three-dimensional? So I can do my Aquarius sign as though it's puffy. So I'm going to hold this up in a sec so you can see what I'm doing. So see how I made the design now so that it's thicker? I drew it on to be thicker, like puffy letters. People at home, so that's what that looks like. And the reason that might be a good idea is because now I can carve that area away from the outside of my design. So I'm going to use my ribbon tool and I'm going to gently and carefully carve the clay away around my design. So the design is raised up above everything else. So what you have to be careful with is not carving too deep, because the tiles that you made are not thick, right? They're like maybe 1/8 of an inch thick. And so not only do you have to carve from this side, but you're also going to be carving from the other side. So if you go too deeply, you're going to be carving holes in your tiles, and we don't want to do that. So all this carving that I'm going to do, once I've gotten the edge kind of established, I'm holding the ribbon tool at an angle. So the deepest part is right up against my design. And now in the surrounding area, I kind of want to just make those carving lines disappear. So I can't really tell that it's been carved to a lower level. So I'm just lightly blending those kind of the outer edge of my carving lines away. Oops, I didn't carve the interior there. I'm going to finish that. And then I would flip this over and I would do the same exact thing. Now, here's one thing to make sure you're keeping in mind. Okay, so that's how that's looking. People at home, that needs cleanup yet, but that's the start of it. These are going to hang, right? So if your design looks like this on this side, make sure that it's exactly balanced on this side. You don't want it to hang nicely and like be all nice and balanced from one side, but then when you flip it over, it's at a weird angle. So just make sure that you're very careful as you're drawing the designs from one side to the other, they're exactly parallel with each other, or, you know, have the same axis of straight up and down. So that's another way to do subtractive. That's a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit more advanced. It creates a design that is just a little bit more dynamic than simply drawing it in. And then finally, you can do the additive technique. So if I do the additive technique, I am needing to score and slip, and I don't have any slip handy. I don't suppose your slip is made yet. Oh, it is. I'm going to steal your slip. Thank you, Meredith. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to take, ideally I would have a fork, but I don't have a fork handy. So I'm just going to dip my needle tool in this slip, do my scoring and slipping simultaneously. You guys all remember scoring and slipping, right? Yeah. It's what you need to do to join any features of clay together so they stick together. And it might be tempting to just skip scoring and slipping and say, oh, I'll just stick this on there. It's small. It'll stay put. Well, the problem is if your tile is dry and this new clay that you're adding is wet, they won't stick together. The dry clay will rob the wet clay of all its moisture. So, oh, I did not center that very well. So there's one of my little Aquarius symbols in the additive style. So it's popping out. And then, oh, I did it on this one. Oh, well. And then I will do the same thing for the bottom one. And then my score lines are still there. So I'm going to need a paintbrush. People who are at home, you have paintbrushes. People who are here, you know where the paintbrushes are. Get a little bit of water and just paint those score lines away. And that'll allow you to smooth in between your designs as well. So I did not add those very neatly or in a refined manner. I did it quickly for the purposes of this demo. Also, I messed up by making the additive on the back of the subtractive one. It should be the same on both sides. So I'll have to change that. I'll come back and fix that at a later time. When you are done carving for today, I want you to get as far as you can with your additive or your subtractive techniques. Take a photo of just whatever side of your tiles you want. I don't need to see both sides today. I'm going to see both sides on Monday, but whatever maybe you consider to be your best sides, have that facing forward, snap a picture and submit it by 3 p.m. Okay. Then, because we have a long weekend ahead of us, right? You're not going to be here Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, obviously. So I would like us to ensure that these stay workable by putting just a single piece of paper towel, get it damp, not drippy wet, just slightly damp. Lay that on your tray and put all your tiles on that damp paper towel and bag them up tight so that they stay workable, stay hydrated for Monday. People who are here in person, any questions on that before I let you get to work? People who are at home, stay on the line. All right, thank you for letting me borrow your stuff. All right, I'm gonna check in with the VLA kids and then I'll be back in the room. Hey, everybody. Okay, I'm going to stop recording.